Photos posted late Friday afternoon on July 25th show Keyshia Cole sitting between the legs of a 26-year-old Philadelphia rapper named Skrilla, his arm wrapped around her inside what looks like a club lounge, and within hours the caption on those photos had shifted from casual curiosity to full-blown relationship investigation. That's the kind of image that doesn't need a caption to start a conversation. It just needs an Instagram account with a big enough following to push it into everyone's feed, and in this case that account belonged to Live BTS, a gossip aggregator whose posts about Cole's personal life have become something of a recurring feature over the past 2 years. The image itself tells a specific story if you look closely enough, which is exactly what thousands of people did within the first hour it circulated. Cole, 44, is dressed in a dark gray shirt, knee-high leather boots, checkered sunglasses, and a fanny pack, throwing up a West Side hand sign for the camera. Skrilla, seated differently in a separate frame, has his face partially obscured by an American flag mask, and he's wearing a shirt that features one of Cole's old album covers. That last detail is the one that turned casual scrolling into serious speculation, because wearing a piece of merchandise tied to someone's back catalog isn't the kind of thing that happens by accident between two people who supposedly just met. Neither Cole nor Skrilla has said a single public word about what these photos mean. No caption confirming a relationship, no denial calling it a misunderstanding, nothing. That silence is its own kind of statement in the world of celebrity gossip, where the absence of a denial often gets read as confirmation, fair or not. What's clear is that the internet didn't wait for either of them to clarify anything before rendering its verdict. To understand why this particular set of photos generated the reaction it did, you have to look at where Keyshia Cole has been for the last 2 years, because her romantic life has rarely stayed private for long. And this newest development arrives directly on the heels of one of the more publicly dissected relationships of her career. Cole and rapper Hunxho, real name Ibrahim, first went public with their relationship in 2024 after being spotted together at a club, a debut that mirrors almost exactly how the Skrilla speculation began. Their romance was later referenced in one of Hunxho's own tracks, and Cole went as far as getting his first name tattooed across her chest, a gesture that read as a serious commitment rather than a passing fling. The age gap between the two, with Hunxho nearly 2 decades younger, drew commentary from the start, but that didn't stop the relationship from playing out publicly across concerts, social media posts, and eventually, plenty of turbulence. The trouble began in earnest last May, when Hunxho collaborated with rapper Gloss Up on a song, an accompanying music video that many observers described as unusually intimate for a professional collaboration. Gloss Up posted behind-the-scenes photos from the shoot with a caption that read as flirtatious, and social media users immediately flagged the optics as disrespectful to Cole. Cole herself appeared to disappear from social media shortly afterward, a silence that fans interpreted as a reaction to what they'd seen. She and Hunxho continued dating for several more months regardless, weathering the fallout from that incident the way couples in the public eye sometimes do, absorbing scrutiny rather than ending things outright. By November, the relationship showed real cracks. Cole posted single asks to her Instagram story, a message that arrived only weeks after Hunxho had reportedly gifted her a Maybach for her birthday. The contrast between a lavish Schulman gift and a blunt breakup post fueled plenty of confusion among fans trying to track what was actually happening between the two of them. Then, in December, they were photographed together again, which reset the entire conversation and left people genuinely unsure whether they were together or not. That uncertainty didn't resolve until March of this year, when Cole posted a video of herself shopping for a new handbag, explaining that she'd lost her belongings, including her collection of black bags.
This is sad, Ricky. Keyshia Cole confirms, y'all, that she's single again. No, it's sad now. They said a wise woman once said, if he ain't gonna...
In the wildfires that devastated parts of Los Angeles earlier in the year, In that same video, she made her relationship status explicit, saying that starting over kinda sucks, and that not having a man in her life also sucks, delivered with the kind of dry humor that has become something of a signature for her when discussing heartbreak publicly. That moment effectively closed the book on the Hunxho chapter, at least as far as public confirmation goes, though Cole herself made clear in a later appearance on The Breakfast Club that closing a chapter emotionally is a slower process than closing it publicly. During that Breakfast Club conversation, which aired in late May, Cole told hosts she still had Hunxho's tattoo on her body and that removing it might be the real sign she was ready to move on. Asked directly whether she was ready to date again, she said no. That's an important data point for anyone trying to figure out the significance of these new photos with Skrilla, because it establishes that as recently as 2 months ago, Cole was telling a national radio audience she wasn't emotionally prepared for a new relationship. Whether that changed between late May and late July is something only Cole herself can speak to, and so far, she hasn't. Skrilla, for his part, arrives in this story from a completely different corner of the music industry than Hunxho, and his own background adds a layer of context that's worth understanding on its own terms, separate from any speculation about Cole. Born Jamil Edwards in 1999 and raised in the Kensington neighborhood of Philadelphia, an area widely associated with the city's opioid crisis and open-air drug markets, Skrilla built his name through years of independent releases before signing with Priority Records in 2023. His music blends Philadelphia drill with Detroit-influenced production, and his lyrics draw directly from his own upbringing, including years spent selling drugs starting around age 12 and a stretch of house arrest during high school, tied to heroin-related charges. Priority Records in 2023. His music blends Philadelphia drill with Detroit-influenced production, and his lyrics draw directly from his own upbringing, including years spent selling drugs starting around age 12 and a stretch of house arrest during high school tied to heroin-related charges. What pushed Skrilla from a regional drill artist into mainstream cultural conversation was a single called Doot Doot, which became a viral sensation on TikTok in 2025. The track's chanted refrain of 6-7 turned into one of the platform's defining memes of the year, adopted by everyone from teenagers making dance videos to, notably, basketball players repeating the phrase during games, which only accelerated its spread. Linguists and cultural commentators spent real time debating what exactly the phrase meant, with theories ranging from a reference to a specific street in Kensington to police radio code. And Skrilla himself has offered his own explanation, tying it to a shift in his mindset, though he's acknowledged the phrase took on a life beyond his control once it hit the internet. That level of viral penetration is rare for an artist working primarily in a hyper-local, unglamorous subgenre of drill music, and it's part of why his name now carries recognition well outside of Philadelphia's rap scene. He also practices Santeria, an Afro-Cuban religious tradition that shows up repeatedly in his music, with songs referencing specific deities within that faith. That spiritual dimension, combined with his candid lyrical accounts of addiction, poverty, and survival in Kensington, has given him a reputation as one of the more unfiltered voices to emerge from Philadelphia's drill scene in recent years, distinct from the more polished mainstream rap that dominates most streaming playlists. None of that background explains why he'd be photographed in a cozy embrace with a 44-year-old R&B veteran whose career predates his own by roughly 2 decades, and that gap in age and genre is precisely what's fueling so much of the online chatter. Cole broke through in the early 2000s with hits like Love and has spent over 20 years building a catalog defined in large part by songs about heartbreak, betrayal, and resilience in relationships, themes she's continued to mine through her more recent work, including I Should Have Cheated. Fans who've followed her career closely tend to notice when her personal life intersects with a new artist. in part because several of her past relationships have eventually surfaced in her music, sometimes years later. The reaction in the comments section under the original Live BTS post reflected a familiar split. Some commenters expressed a kind of exhausted concern, suggesting Cole take time to be single rather than move quickly into another public relationship, especially so soon after a Breakfast Club interview where she admitted she wasn't over her last one. Others leaned into humor, joking that she'd inevitably do the 67 inches now, a direct reference to Skrilla's viral catchphrase, while a few longtime fans shrugged off the speculation entirely and said they were simply hoping a new relationship, whatever its outcome, would inspire another album from her, pointing to how consistently her past heartbreaks have translated into commercially successful music. One user referenced a phone conversation Cole once had publicly with singer Monica about relationship advice, joking that she apparently hadn't taken it. That's a small detail, but it underscores how deeply fans have tracked Cole's romantic decisions over the years, treating her dating life almost like a running storyline they have emotional investment in, the way audiences track characters on a long-running drama. It's worth being precise about what these photos actually establish and what they don't. They show physical closeness in a social setting. They show Skrilla wearing merchandise connected to Cole's music catalog, and they show two public figures who have not addressed the speculation directly. What they don't establish is a confirmed relationship, a timeline for when the two met, or any statement from either party about their intentions. Compared to the earlier stages of the Hunxho relationship, where Cole eventually got a tattoo and appeared publicly at his concerts, this situation is still in its infancy, if it's a relationship at all rather than a single social outing that got photographed at the wrong angle. There's also the matter of Skrilla's own public life, which hasn't been extensively documented in terms of past relationships, the way Cole's has. Most of what's publicly known about him centers on his music career and his upbringing in Kensington, rather than his dating history, which means there isn't an existing pattern to compare this moment against the way there is with Cole and her string of previous public relationships.